Meh.
There has never been anything like Enchanted to a land as strange and terrifying. Enchanted.
This is the OrzhovDunn here, bringing you guys another deck tech. Today we will be talking about Daxos the Returned, or the little engine that could, as I like to say. Daxos has a couple things going for him. He is a black-white zombie, which is kind of rare and fun. He is one and a black and a white, and he's one of the experience counter commanders, which he reads. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you get an experience counter. And then you could pay one white and one black, and you get to put a white and black spirit enchantment creature token onto the battlefield, and it has its power and toughness are equal to the number of experience counters. So every time you cast a enchantment or an aura or anything of the like, which there is quite a bit, you get to put a token into play, and how many tokens you get to play is equal to the number of enchantments and everything else that you've been playing. So you get a big army pretty fast. He's 3 for a 2/2, so he's not the biggest guy, but we do have cards in the deck that will help keep him alive. And I chose him because we could do a very fun, kind of cheap sub-theme with Daxos, and that, my friends, is curses.
Well, there's no two ways about it. He brought curses to the table. Curses to the table.
Curses to the table.
That's right. Curses is something that I enjoy quite a bit. I always thought the curse mechanic was a fun thing to do. All the way back in Innistrad Return to Ravnica Standard, I tried to run the black-red curses deck to varying degrees of non-success, but alas, we are trying to make curses work in Commander. Well, OrzhovDunn, that's a stupid ass idea, because curses, you only attach it to one player.
O ye of little faith.
Well, that's true, but you can make this as a very strong, almost competitive 1v1 commander with a couple lockout items that we have in this deck, or just make a extremely fun political game of going after one player. And it's not like you're neglecting your board either. Every time you're playing enchantments and playing curses and whatnot, you are getting more experience counters and building up an army while you're allying with one of your opponents and really hosing another. So this is a very fun political multiplayer commander, but it's also a very strong, more competitive 1v1. So, do a quick caveat. Yes, this deck does not run all the expensive $80 tutor cards like Enlightened Tutor, Academy Rector, Vampiric Tutor, even Demonic Tutor. I just don't care that much to spend that much money on cardboard. So, we have a tutor engine all to itself with Curse of Misfortunes, and that's 5. And it comes down, you get to curse a enchanted player, and during your upkeep, you get to search your library for a curse card and attach it to the cursed player. So, if you really don't like your opponent or one certain opponent in a multiplayer game or 1v1, this works perfectly. So every turn you get a free curse, and what better curse is out there to tutor for than this sucker right here? This is the reason I really wanted to run this deck. You basically now have a humility in the format that you could tutor for with Curse of Misfortunes and other aura tutoring cards.
Like they're just sitting there going, yeah, well, I'm gonna lose to this.
You don't need cards like in Enlightened Tutor or the like, because this counts as an aura. Curses are auras, so this is fantastic. So, Overwhelming Splendor, of course, costs 1,000,000 mana, actually just 8, but it will attach itself for free with Curse of Misfortunes, which is just ridiculous. It makes all their creatures lose all abilities and become 1/1s. So that is the premier thing. And then it is a perfect marriage with Curse of Death's Hold.
This Curse of Death's Hold is the best curse.
Yeah, that's right. Curse of Death's Hold is was the most powerful curse until Overwhelming Splendor came out, but this is kind of a pseudo lockdown right here. Overwhelming Splendor first, then Curse of Death's Hold. All their creatures lose all abilities, become 1/1s, and then all their creatures get -1/-1, so they don't get to have creatures anymore. So it's fantastic. Next we have Curse of Thirst, and that is a pretty cheap curse for, just kidding. This one also costs 5, but free if you have the Misfortune engine going. This one, during their upkeep, they take damage equal to the number of curses attached to them. So we have 9, we're running 9 total curses, and 9, if you have the full suite out, 9 damage per upkeep is not something that most people could survive. Next we have Curse of the Forsaken, and this one's one of the weaker ones, but it's, you know, we just need kind of maximum velocity of curses. So this one is whenever a creature attacks enchanted player, its controller gains 1 life. So this is one of the more political curses. It rewards you and your opponents, if you're playing multiplayer, to go after that one cursed player, that strong player, that person that plays X commander, you know, fill in the blank of overpowered commander, and you just kind of want to hate him out of the game. This is a great political card. Next we have Curse of Disturbance. Also, you know, all these cards are not inherently powerful, but with the Curse engine, they do become powerful. This is the one where whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same, so everyone gets tokens. Well, we're making tokens with our general as well, and big fat tokens, so why not make some more? Next, we have the OG version of that card, Curse of Shallow Graves. Same casting cost. Whenever a player attacks enchanted player with 1 or more creatures, that attacking player may put a 2/2 black zombie creature onto the battlefield tapped. So this is kind of more traditional zombie mechanic where they came in the battlefield tapped. So Curse of Disturbance is a little better, but, you know, again, maximum velocity, and we want more tokens. This is one from Amonkhet. This is actually common, and it only costs 2, and when you enchant player, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under cursed player's control, they lose a life and you gain a life. Playing token decks, your opponents are playing Perforos or anything that just kind of combo off and, you know, just lay a bunch of things, they're going to die very fast, and you're going to gain a bunch of life while wiping out one of your opponents and still having a big chunk of life to kind of take on the rest of the field. Next we have Torment of Scarabs, and this one is Hour of Devastation, 4 casting costs. At the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 3 life unless he or she sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. This one is probably our worst curse. It kind of bites us in the ass. If they want to discard, we're giving them a discard outlet if it's a graveyard deck, but it is nice if they run out of cards in their hand, they run out of things to do, they have to start sacrificing permanents or take even more damage for their curses. This deck is very similar to like an 8-rack deck or something like that, where you put out a bunch of enchantments to do the work for you.
Lord of the Curses. So one last question. When your opponents lose to you, has anyone gone, curses? Or
now, usually we go creatures first, but since it is a sub-theme of curses, we want to get that out of the way. So we have Darksteel Mutation, one of the best ways left to deal with problemsome commanders. You know, it wipes out all their abilities, kind of like the Overwhelming Splendor does, and makes them a 0/1 indestructible insect. So it gives them a really good chump blocker, but that's really not a problem. Next, we have one of the more expensive cards and broken cards in EDH still, Luminarch Ascension. You could also say this deck has a Pillow Fort sub-theme as well, with some cards coming up. And so, you know, what do you want to do in a Pillow Fort situation? You want to put Luminarch Ascension so players can't attack you or won't attack you, and you just keep building up little counters and then just kind of pumping out 4/4 angels. So Luminarch Ascension is fantastic. Then we have Blind Obedience. This is kind of a Orzhov staple. 1 and 1 white. All your opponent's creatures come to the battlefield tap, and it has Extort, which is very nice, and Extort scales very nicely in multiplayer formats. Then we have Flicker Form. This is a card that I usually put on my general. It's an aura, it's 1 and 1 white, and then you could pay 2 and 2 white to remove target creature from the game with all auras attached, and then you get to put them back in the game also with all auras attached. So it's a nice way to protect the commander. Flicker Form is very nice, and it also triggers all the constellation that's in the deck. Animate Dead, just because it's wonderful. It's a tutorable aura. A lot of good things die in EDH, and you want to put them into play under your control. Phyrexian Arena is next, signed by Sir Pete Venters himself, and this is just an auto include in any black EDH deck. Unique card draw, especially in these colors. You know, my name's OrzhovDunn, so I love this color combination, but I know that card draw is not its strong suit, so we want anything we can to help us. Same thing with Underworld Connections, Poor Man, Phyrexian Arena. Not as good because you got to tie up a land, but it's an aura that you could tutor for, which is fantastic, and we want to draw cards. Here goes one of our Pillow Fort cards. This one is Ghostly Prison. It's basically white propaganda. That sounds really bad, especially in today's society, but that's not what I mean. Propaganda is a blue card that makes all opponent's creatures have to tap 2 colorless mana to kind of swing in, and this is the white version of that. We have Aura of Silence next. Makes our opponents artifacts and enchantments cost 2 more to cast, plus we could sacrifice it in a pinch to destroy target enchantment or artifact. Then we have Grasp of Fate. This is one of the best Oblivion Ring effects in EDH. It scales up for each opponent's permanents. It's also at the right casting cost at 3, so you could get it back with Sun Titan, just like Aura of Silence. This is a great card. OG O-Ring, of course. It's little brother, Banishing Light, the fixed O-Ring. We have Stasis Snare for a little flash action. Prison Term, which is a great card because you want to pacify and kind of wipe out the abilities of the best thing on the table. So anything that enters the battlefield, if it's better than the thing that's already in timeout, it goes on timeout. Karmic Justice, this is kind of a Grave Pact except for non-creature permanents, and we want to protect our enchantments, we want to protect our auras at all costs, so every time they wipe something out of ours, they have to sacrifice a permanent as well. Gift of Immortality, this is again just trying to protect Daxos because he's kind of weak, so every time that our creature dies, it comes back to the battlefield. It's great. Quarantine Field, when you have to put all the kids on timeout. Sphere of Safety, this is the ultimate Pillow Fort card. This is an uncommon all the way back from Return to Ravnica. It costs quite a bit. It costs 5, but it reads, creatures can attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures, where X is the number of enchantments you control. Hey, we're going to play a lot of enchantments. We're going to play a crap ton of enchantments. So they're going to have to pay a crap ton to attack us. So this is Ghostly Prison. This is like Ghostly Max. Yes, that was a horrible joke. Sigil of the Empty Throne. It goes in all kind of enchantment, enchantress decks. It costs 5. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you put a 4/4 angel in. So why should you have to wait for your Luminar Consumption to get your counters when you could just drop this down and start playing your cards and get 4/4 angels? Starfield the Nyx, this is just kind of a game ender. It's kind of a nombo sometimes. It's kind of a weird card. It costs 5, you drop it, all of your non-creature enchantments become creature enchantments with base power and toughness equal to their converted mana cost. Yeah, that's a mouthful. So all your 5 casting costs and 3 casting costs, auras and enchantments, these all become creatures. So you don't want to drop this very early. If you're winning the game, you don't want to kind of do this unless it's a finisher. This is just basically kind of, you know, you have 6 enchantments out and you just want to win that turn, you drop this, turn them all into creatures, and then you swing. There's no worse feel bad moment than when you drop a Starfield to Nyx and they board wipe, because that's all your stuff all the time. Dictate to Erebos, if I have to get rid of my creatures, you do too, and there ain't nothing wrong with a Grave Pact with Flash. This is the most David Lynch looking Magic card too. I just love the artwork on Dictate to Erebos. Black Market, because it got reprinted and it's a great card. You know, things are gonna die in Commander. Our things are gonna die in Commander, and this is also, you know, we're not playing green. Not only are we not drawing cards great, but we're also not ramping great, so we need all the help we could get. Skybind, because it's weird and it looks beautiful in foil. Yeah, this card is so weird and wacky. It costs 5. You play it, it has Constellation. Every time you play it, you get to exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls, and then it returns to the battlefield under its owner's control during the next end step. So you kind of want to drop this and then a couple other, you know, enchantment cards, you know, or Daxos tokens, because that will trigger Constellation. And you kind of just clear the way for either an Alpha Strike or something, or just, you know, just to make life weird. Skybind is there. Alright, now we're going into our creature package, starting out with Aegis of the Gods, and it's 1 and 1 white for a 2/1, and you have hexproof. So, you know, there is an enchantment that does this a lot better, but it costs a lot of money, and this guy is just fine. Spirit of the Labyrinth, she is a 3/1 for 2. She says each player can't draw more than 1 card each turn. So this is a nice card, you know, when you're playing against blue, when you're playing against some black decks that do go off. There's nothing worse for your opponent when they have a Phyrexian Arena out and they're just taking damage and they're not even get to draw the card. So yeah, Spirit of the Labyrinth is nice. If we can't draw a bunch of cards like blue does, then blue doesn't either. Athreos, God of Passage. Yep, this was a converted Athreos deck, so of course he makes the cut. Eidolon of Rhetoric. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn. This hinders us sometimes, but not too bad, especially when you have the Curse of Misfortunes engine out, because it's not technically casting, neither is, you know, putting Daxos tokens into play. So that it does help us more than it hurts us. Sometimes it's a bit annoying, but it keeps people honest. It keeps people from going off like Storm-like decks, if there are really any in the format anymore. You know, like Locust God type decks rather. This kind of keeps those in check, and it keeps everyone just playing 1 spell per turn. Mesa Enchantress, of course, it's an Enchantress style deck. You play this card. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, whether it be an aura or enchantment creature, whatever kind of enchantment, you get to draw a card. Heliod's Pilgrim, this is a fantastic card in this deck because you play her. She's 3 for a 1/2, so pretty weak, but she gets a tutor for an aura. Guess what she gets a tutor for? Your curses! That was, in theory, that was supposed to look a lot cooler. She was supposed to be making it rain, but that just looked kind of dumb. Alright, next we have the Monk Idealist. When he comes into the battlefield, he gets to Gravedigger one of your enchantments. So, Curse of Misfortunes, people are going to want to wipe that thing out because, like I said, it's an engine, a tutor engine all to itself. So people are going to want to get rid of that. You're going to want to get that back. Heliod, God of the Sun. Yep, this is a total flavor fail of having him in the deck with Daxos.
Oh, this is awkward. Yeah?
Anyways, he makes our tokens have vigilance. Getting his devotion to white is fairly easy. Have a 5/6 beater is very nice, plus he makes tokens on his own. Next we have Fate Unraveler, another Phyrexian Arena, but in a enchantment creature. So yeah, of course he goes in. Then we have the Agent of Erebos, and this is kind of a Bajuka Bog on a stick. He's 4 for a 2/2. When you play him, you may have him exile all cards in target opponent's graveyard. So we're going to be dropping a lot of enchantments and a lot of enchantment creatures, especially with Mr. Daxos. So every time that happens, we get to exile entire graveyards. So very powerful. Then we have a Johnny's Chosen, 2 and 2 white for a 3/3 whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, so essentially has Constellation. Put a 2/2 white cat creature token onto the battlefield. If that enchantment is an aura, you may attach it to the token. So yeah, very nice. Move them around, kind of like equipment. We get more tokens with a Johnny's Chosen. Doomwake Giant, a lot of people said this card wasn't very powerful. I tend to disagree. I kind of like it. It's got a huge, nice, round, juicy bottom. 4/6 for 5, has Constellation whenever you play it, basically, because that's how Constellation works, or any other enchantment. All creatures, not just one, but all creatures opponents control get -1/-1. There's a lot of instances of making, you know, 3-4 enchantments or enchant creatures turn, so that is like mini board wipes happening. He's a huge target, but you know, while he lasts, if he sticks, it is a great card. We have Celestial Archon, which is just kind of a big stupid card. It's 5 for a 4/4 flying first strike, which is not bad stats. You could bestow for 7, and enchant creature gets 4/4 and flying in first strike. So not too bad. You know, I usually put this on Daxos to make him kind of bigger to get commander damage in, and then if he winds up dying, then it falls off and becomes a creature on its own. Just a big dumb magic card. Then we have Celestial Ancient. It's flying, 3/3 for 5. Anytime you cast an enchantment spell, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So just kind of a nice Anthem effect. You get to keep dropping counters. Instead of running cards like Intangible Virtue, I kind of like this a little bit better. Sun Titan, not an enchantment, but gets a lot of important auras and enchantments back. Also enchant creatures back. So Sun Titan, you know, run it. It's white. It's wonderful. And his little buddy, Treasury Thrall, is kind of like a Sun Titan, the second Extort card. Cost 6 for a 4/4. Not as good stats as the Titan. Every time it attacks, you may return target artifact, creature, or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. So the nice thing about the Thrall is that it doesn't have that restriction of converted mana costs of 3 or less like Sun Titan does. It could get back anything, and it could also get back our engine in Curse of Misfortune. So not a bad card. Then we have Silent Sentinel, kind of the same thing as the Treasury Thrall, but this one costs 7 for a 4/6 flying. Whenever it attacks, you may return target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So even better because it doesn't go right back to our hand, and it doesn't have the mana restrictions again, like the Sun Titan, just big dumb magic card that gets our stuff back. Alright, on to the non-permanent spells. We're going to start this off with Open the Armory. And I'm like, Open the Armory, this card seems like it would suck. Why would this make the cut? But it's a tutor, and search your library for an aura or an equipment card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So this is our Enlightened Tutor. It gets an aura, so it gets really important auras that we need. It also gets curses. This will get Curse of Misfortunes for us. So, and we don't need to spend $20, $25 on vampiric tutors and the like. So this is a fantastic uncommon from Shadows over Innistrad. Vindicate. We're in Orzhov colors. Run Vindicate. It's cheap. Wrath of God and Day of Judgment. Wrath of board. We're playing Magic. We're playing EDH. Kill all the things all the time. This is the best Wrath in the deck, which sounds so stupid because this card sucks, but not in this deck. Extinguish All Hope. It's got all the cool gods on it. None of these gods are in the deck, unfortunately, but 6, destroy all non-enchantment creatures. So this could be a one-sided Wrath, where all your enchant creatures, all your enchant tokens get to stay out, and everything else dies. This is a game finisher. Plea for Guidance, another wonderful tutor that costs like, I don't know, $1 maybe? Plea for Guidance, it does cost 6. Yeah, that sucks, but it gets 2 enchantments. 2 enchantments is fantastic. It will get our Curse of Misfortunes, and then something else, whatever we need, Johnny on the spot. It gives us options. So this is a wonderful card, and it doesn't cost $1 million. Open the vault, yep, it gets everything back, all enchantments and all artifacts. Kind of bites us in the ass sometimes, but more often than not, you know, it is a great card if you're playing it. We're not gonna spend $30 on replenish, so open the vaults is what we got. All right, on to the artifacts. We run a couple, not too many. We have Soul Ring, and then, you know, obviously Soul Ring comes out during the 1v1 games, but this is just, I'm just kind of showing you guys the multiplayer version of the deck. Soul Ring, because I want to show off the Eye of Sauron that Mark Tadine made for me, because I'm a big fat show off. Then we have Orzhov Signet. This deck needs a lot of ramp, so we're going to run a lot of mana rocks, like the Thought Vessel. You know, no maximum hand size, it only costs 2, and it gives us a colorless mana. Same goes for Darksteel Ingot and Commander Sphere, which gets sacked to get a card. And that's our mana rocks. And then we have our last artifact, which is Crystal Chimes. Basically, you pay 3, sack it, and you get all of your enchantments back into your hand that were in the graveyard. All right, on to the land. This, again, is not super optimal. I'm not running fetches, really. I'm not running, you know, a million off-colored fetches or even on-colored fetches. This is just what I'm personally running at the moment. If you have the extra cash, spend it. All right. Godless Shrine. We have Isolated Chapel. Concealed Courtyard. Caves of Koilos. Tainted Field. Orzhov Basilica. Shambling Vent, Temple of Silence, Scoured Barrens. I don't like a lot of tap lands. This one gets me a life, sure. Orzhov Guildgate. This might get cut. I don't know. This deck needs to get rolling a little bit faster, and too many tap lands. It just sucks. Enemy colors are just so hosed as far as, you know, dual lands goes. There's so many better options in friendly colors, but for now, Orzhov Guildgate makes it meh. Alright, now we're going to Command Tower, Shrine to Nyx, or what is it called? Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. This card is really, really fantastic in this particular deck. Enchantments tend to be the permanent that is like the hardest to remove, so we're gonna have a lot of like devotion out, basically. This could really get out of hand. This is a poor man's, what is it called? Sarah's Sanctum or whatever. Again, not spending like $40, $60 on a single piece of cardboard when I could just have this, and it essentially does the same thing. Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Yep, turn them all into swamps, so all your lands are dual lands. Gives your opponent some swamps too. Sometimes I hold back playing this. I found myself holding this back lately when I'm playing against a lot of black decks because I'm just fixing their mana too. But, you know, Urborg, play it. I'm not running Cabal Coffers because I don't own one. Bajuka Bog. Yep, plain black. Get rid of their graveyard. Windswept Heath. Nope. Windbrisk Heights, rather. Windbrisk Heights, this is a great card. You know, we're going to have a lot of big converted mana cost permanents, and we're going to have a lot of creatures, a lot of tokens to attack with. So, yeah, Windbrisk Heights is very nice. The kind of cycle lands, Secluded Steppe, Barren Moor, Vault of the Archangel is wonderful in anything running, you know, tokens. It's just anything at all. It turns all your creatures into rattlesnakes, or just kind of puts you so far ahead. Temple of the False God, we need the mana. Ghost Quarter, Misty Maze, don't have a Maze of Ith, and that's just kind of a me problem because they're not even that expensive anymore. But yeah, I'll get around to it and replace this. Westvale Abbey, yep, great. You know, I always get blown out when I get greedy and flip a Westvale Abbey, but it's just like achievement unlocked. You gotta do it. On to the fetch lands, we have Myriad Landscape. Wow, this card is so freaking powerful. I love this card so much. Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, I believe 6 swamps. You know what swamps look like, and 6 plains. That is the deck, folks. That is Daxos, I don't even know where he is anymore. It doesn't matter. There he is. Daxos and Christmas Fortunes. That is this deck tech this week, everyone. Enjoy it. It's such a weird deck, and it's so fun, and not a lot of people play it, and it's actually a blast, and it actually holds its own against a lot of other decks. Do all the things that YouTubers tell you to do, like, comment, subscribe, share my video, blah, blah, blah. No, but if you like this, you know, go ahead and tell people about it. Why not? Find me and talk to me about my crappy decks on Twitter at the OrzhovDunn, or you can find me on Facebook at They Said We Said, and on Instagram at They Said We Said. So until next time, I'll see you at the tables.